Do you know what feminism is?
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
I think I do know what feminism is, but I don't think I'm super informed as to exactly what it is and what it means.
I would say that feminism historically is the advancement of women's rights. It's the movement that helped combat a lot of social issues, such as the use of contraceptive pills, abortion, women's suffrage, the rights of gay populations, like the LGBT population.
Audio Jungle.
What is feminism to you?
Feminism to me is when everyone has equal rights.
To me, feminism is men and women being equal, so men not being inferior to women, but women also not being inferior to men. So in society, men and women are on the same level of playing field. Men don't get paid more, women don't get paid more, and everyone is respected for who they are, and there's no superiority based on gender.
Feminism to me is just equality for everybody.
I believe that feminism is equality and equal rights between everyone, and yes, the foundation starts with women's right and to be treated as equals with men. But in this day and age, it comes down to equality for all.
Nobody should have more or less just because of what sex they are.
Do you consider yourself to be a feminist?
I would not consider myself to be a feminist.
No, I don't really consider myself to be a feminist because I know people who are feminists, and they kind of scare me. They're really crazy.
I do see myself as a feminist because I do believe in the basic structure of what feminism means and what it represents, so I think I do see myself as a feminist.
I would consider myself a feminist to an extent, but I wouldn't say I'm like an extreme feminist like some people. I'm not sure if I would ever go out to rallies or petition, but I do believe that women deserve the same rights that men do, and that everyone should be treated equally. So in that sense, I'm a feminist, but I wouldn't say I'm like super hardcore. Do you think the name feminism has a stigma attached to it? I think that it has a very negative stigma attached to it.
I do believe that the word feminism does have a stigma attached to it, a negative stigma, just because I think a lot of people don't really know what it means and really know what feminism truly is.
I believe that it does to people who aren't, I don't want to say well educated in it, but don't have the proper resources to know what it exactly is. And so a lot of people, just because it says feminism, think that it's just for females and it's just for women and that's what we're fighting for. But it's not. It's basically making sure that everyone's treated equally and have equal rights. And at the end of the day, if I'm being treated this way, like, you should not that you should be treated this way, but it's like it comes down to that. So it's like, if a man is allowed to hit a woman, why isn't it like, if a man isn't allowed to hit a woman, then a woman isn't allowed to hit a man either? It shouldn't be like, oh, it's one way this way and it's one way that way. Like, that's not okay. But at the same time, a man being paid more than a woman isn't okay either. Like, if I'm making under the dollar, why aren't you making under the dollar? Like, that's not okay either. So at the end of the day, people who don't know stuff like this or don't want to know stuff like this just assume that it's only for women just because it says feminism and it's only towards females, but it's not. And like, that point needs to get across, and that it's not just towards females. I mean, a huge part of it is towards females because we didn't have rights, because we weren't seen as persons, and because there's so many things that we weren't allowed to do and privileges that we didn't have but like men did. So it started off with that foundation, but it has grown into having everyone involved in it and not just females. But the main priority comes down to like it for being females, but like a lot of it is mostly like if it's this way, it should be this way too with everyone, because everyone needs to be treated equally.
I think that when people hear the word feminism or they hear that people are feminist, they tend to be turned off and put a guard up just because these people can be seen or portrayed as intense when not all are.
I think the name does have a stigma attached to it because of what it's been known in the past.
I think it's just like a bunch of angry women, like, yelling at people.
And I think that every time that somebody proclaims themselves to be a feminist, they will say, well, I'm a feminist, but there's always the but attached to it as if they have to explain themselves. So I think it is stigmatized.
Do you think feminism should be renamed? Why or why not?
I think it should be renamed because I think that it is stigmatized.
I do think that feminism should be renamed.
I think feminism should be renamed just because feminism is about equality for both sexes, not just for women.
I think that with a modern day, we need a modern message and a modern movement.
I don't know what it should be renamed to, but I think that it needs to have a change just because it has that negative stigma attached to it and it can be seen as man-hating, and I don't think that's right. I think that it should be renamed to something that puts men and women on the same level of playing field. So it shouldn't be a word that makes women seem superior or men seem as superior, but equal, because I believe that men and women should be equal and that men shouldn't have more rights than women and women shouldn't have more rights than men. And because feminism can be seen as really putting women up and kind of in a way putting men down, I think it should be renamed.
Yeah, I think it should be renamed because it's not only for females.
And I think the word, like, part fem in it is just kind of confusing people a little bit.
It's not only for females, and it has the word femme in it, like where you see in females or feminine. And it's kind of misleading.
I don't think it should be renamed. I think that it's perfectly fine the way that it is. It shows history, it shows foundation, it shows structure, and this is where it came from. And it tells a story. Like, it's called feminism for a reason. It's fighting for women's rights, like, from the start. Like, that's what the foundation is of it. And I mean, everything changes, right? Everything molds to what society changes into, and to like all of a sudden change that destroys the history behind what feminism actually means. So to keep it the same, it just tells a story and tells you where it comes from and like why it's that way and what it means. So I don't think we should change feminism, or it should be renamed. It means what it is, and it is what it is. Like that's what it stands for. So I don't think it should be renamed. Do you think a feminism course should be mandatory to take at the high school level? I don't think like just to have feminism as a course should happen in high school, but I think like because we have sociology and because we have anthropology and like psychology, like you can slip it in. Like feminism is a viewpoint, so to like teach in that viewpoint should be important. To be like, oh, in the feminism perspective, this is how we see it. When you're already teaching sociology, when you're already teaching psychology, and like there are different perspectives that feminism falls into, so to broaden that and to like dip into it and just to teach them on it, it gives them a better understanding of what it could be.
I don't think a feminist course should be mandatory.
I mean, it should be acknowledged in high school. Like, you should be like, this is what feminism is, and like, these are other perspectives, and like, this is a different viewpoint. Like, to not completely talk about it is wrong, but to like come down and be like, oh, you should have a course on feminism, I don't think so. But it should be taught in some perspective in like classes.
Or if you were to make a chapter specific, like in a history class, make like a chapter of learning specific on feminism to highlight what it's done for Canadians. I think that would be a good thing.
I don't think that it should be mandatory to take at the high school level. I do think that it should be an option to take, though. I don't think it should be mandatory, because when things are made mandatory, it tends to turn people away. They tend to not want to do it. They tend to lose interest. So I think that in order for feminism to remain of interest to people, it should be an option, so that people who are interested or curious about it can take it and become more informed, but they're not forced to.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory, because not many people know what feminism is, and people should be more aware that like we're all equal.
I don't believe that a feminism course should be required to take in the high school curriculum, just because I think everybody should already know about it. There's so much out there on the web, and there's so much out there like for information about it. I don't think we should have to dedicate a whole course to it.